Hi everyone, this is the lecture to accompany Chapter 13 in your textbook. We are jumping ahead here, but since your next speech will be informative in nature, you need to understand the different kinds of informative speeches and the topics that are appropriate for them. I won't be addressing everything in this chapter because some of these things we haven't talked about yet, but I still want you to be familiar with the chapter information. In this class, we're going to learn about both informative and persuasive speeches. You'll be giving persuasive speeches later in the semester, but first you'll be creating and delivering an informative speech. In informative speaking, you act as a teacher. Your job is to help us understand a topic on a deeper level than we did before your speech. But it's more than just reciting off a bunch of facts about a topic. You need to turn that information into knowledge, and that comes from making a connection with your audience, helping them to find the topic meaningful and interesting. Here's a good chart that shows the characteristics of a good informative speech. You need to make it personally meaningful for both yourself and your audience. You need to provide the best, most accurate information. Your speech topic and purpose should be clear to the audience, and it should be limited in scope because you simply don't have time to tell us everything there is to know about your topic. Let's look at each of these characteristics a little more closely. First, the topic should be personally meaningful to both you and your audience. You probably wouldn't choose a topic that you really don't care about anyway. You'd choose one that sparks your interest or one that you already know a little about. But you also have to make it meaningful to the audience. They need a reason to want to listen to a speech about it. There are all kinds of ways to do that, and we'll talk about those later. Using things like storytelling, humor, and creative visual aids are all ways to connect with the audience. Then, the information you provide should be accurate. You don't want to, either inadvertently or on purpose, provide incorrect information. You're going to learn how to access the best sources and evaluate the information for accuracy in the coming weeks. Your speech also needs to be clear. By that I mean that your audience shouldn't have to do mental gyrations to try and figure out what you're talking about. Your ideas need to be easy for your audience to follow. If you use an appropriate organizational pattern and clearly explain your ideas, your audience will gratefully follow along. Finally, the speech topic should be limited in scope. This one is often hard for new speakers to follow because they think they need to tell their audience everything about a topic. Focus your speech on one aspect of your topic, and even though you might have personal views and opinions about that topic, an informative speech really isn't the place to give those. You don't want to turn this into a persuasive speech. Keep it at the level of information sharing. There are 5 general types of informative speeches. Although they are not mutually exclusive, the categories can and often do overlap. The book has some really good ideas about the kinds of topics that might fit each one of these categories, just to get you thinking about the kinds of things that would be appropriate. For instance, objects and places, you might want to give a speech on medical lasers, the different types and what they're used for, or a speech about One World Trade Center. There's a picture of it right here. What that is, how it was constructed, and what kinds of things you'll see when you visit there. People and other living creatures, you might give a speech about someone everyone knows, like Jay-Z, or someone that isn't well known by the audience but has done something important, like win a Nobel Prize. You could give a speech about a living creature, like a crocodile, or maybe one that's so small that you can't see them but they're very important, like viruses, or ones that used to be alive but aren't anymore, like pterodactyls. You can talk about processes which have to do with how something works, how it's done or accomplished, or how it's developed over time. So how military drones work, how tattoos are removed, or how criminal investigations have changed over the past century. You can talk about events, which includes anything that has ever happened or might happen. This can include athletic events, historical events, holidays, or important family or personal activities. So you can talk about anything from the Super Bowl to the Battle of Waterloo to Ramadan to college graduation day. Finally, you can talk about ideas and concepts. These are more abstract things like thoughts, understandings, beliefs, or principles. So discussing the concept of creativity, what it is and how we use it. Maybe some ideas like love, what is that? Marriage, what is the theory of evolution, or the principles of Hinduism. In the next few chapters, we're going to look at ways to choose a topic, narrow it down, create a specific purpose and a thesis sentence, and determine the best organizational pattern for it. So I won't be going over those things here, even though they are discussed in this chapter. I do, however, want to leave you with some hints that are going to help you prepare and deliver a great informative speech. First, remember to stay informative. Don't try to persuade the audience of anything. So keep any strong personal views you have about the topic out of it. Your job here is to describe, explain, and possibly show us about the topic, not try to get us to do anything about it. The textbook has a good example of this. If you're giving a speech about the rainforests, you want to probably focus more on what a rainforest is and its characteristics, and not focus on how our environmental choices are destroying the rainforest and we should do something about that. That's persuasive. Now, you can certainly talk about how important the rainforests are, but I hope you can see the difference between an informative and a persuasive speech. You also want to make the speech come alive for your audience. Use stories, examples, and vivid language to bring your ideas to life. Help the audience to truly see what you're explaining to them, and connect your topic to the audience by putting it in a context the audience can understand. They might already be somewhat familiar with the topic, or it might be something completely unfamiliar to them, but there are always aspects of a topic that you can find to relate to your audience. And even if the topic is technical or scientific in nature, you want to keep the language on a level that they can understand. Not everybody knows scientific or medical jargon, even if you do. It doesn't help the audience to relate to you if they don't know what you're talking about. And remember, in an informative speech, you're acting as a teacher, and a good teacher makes the information relevant to the audience and helps them to want to listen. And yes, you do need some kind of visual aid, or as the book calls it, presentation media. And when we get to the chapter that discusses this, I'll go into more detail. For now, what you need to know is that you only have a specific length of time to present your speech, and if you try to do too much with your visual aids, it'll cause you to go over the time limit. So you need to keep it very limited and basic. 1 or 2 good photographs, a very short video or audio clip, and I'm talking under 30 seconds, or an object that helps the audience understand the topic more clearly. Those are really all you need. You do need to practice incorporating your media into your speech delivery so that you move smoothly through the presentation and the media flows well with it. Remember, a good informative speech increases the audience's knowledge and understanding of a topic. You want to describe, explain, and show the topic to them in an interesting and engaging way. You'll be using your creativity to bring this topic to life for your audience. Okay, you're ready to go to Chapter 13 Mind Tap exercise.